This is the seventh part of the interpretation of the psychology of money, discussing why ambitious people often live in self-disappointment. Let's continue. Have you ever noticed that the more ambitious and accomplished a person is, the less satisfied they are with their own performance? Of course, there is an element of humility here. We've talked about the Dunning-Kruger effect, but it's not just about humility. There's also pessimism and disappointment. After taking an exam, a mediocre student is often cheerful, thinking the questions weren't too difficult, and they performed well. On the other hand, a top student might wear a worried expression, claiming they didn't do well. When the results are out, the mediocre student scores 79, while the top student scores 97. However, the top student isn't just pretending. For them, 97 is genuinely not a good grade. If you've consistently scored 100, getting a 97 can be disappointing. This effect might not be as apparent in the workplace, because most jobs don't have direct quantifiable performance metrics. If your performance is easily measurable, you might experience the same feelings. Behind this psychological condition, there's an irresistible mathematical principle. From 1950 to 2019, the average return of the Dow Jones Industrial Average was 11%, which is a commendable performance. Now, if you were having an automatic investment plan for this index during this nearly 70-year period, how would you feel throughout the process? Would you be consistently content, saying, "I'm confident, my money is working for me"? Not really. Most of the time, you would be disappointed. Take a look at this chart. Over 70 years, the Dow Jones Index has generally been on an upward trend, despite some significant fluctuations. However, even within the macro upward trend, there were countless small fluctuations. The shaded area in the graph marks days when the current price was 5% lower than the previous all-time high. Those are the gray days. You missed selling at the last peak, don't know when the next one will come, and now all you have is disappointment. These are the days when top students score 97. Stocks exhibit the same behavior, even for exceptionally successful ones. Take Netflix, its stock price increased 350 times between 2002 and 2018, an outstanding achievement by any investor's dream. However, if you look closely, during these 16 years, on 94% of trading days, Netflix's stock price was lower than its previous all-time high. Another example is Monster Beverage, whose stock rose 3,190 times between 1995 and 2018, an absolute legend. Yet, during 95% of days in this period, its trading price was lower than the previous all-time high. Even legends don't always go up. They face setbacks and fluctuations most of the time. Almost every day is not a setting new records day. Now, imagine holding such a stock, mind you, the best stock. How would your daily mental state be? You wouldn't be ecstatic every day witnessing the stock reaching new highs. Instead, you'd be living in disappointment, anticipation, and perhaps regret. We discussed the psychology of money not to delve into investing, but to illustrate some truths through investing. Investing is an activity anyone can participate in, providing direct feedback on your decisions. Especially, investing reveals whether you can confront the real world. Fairy tales are beautiful, the real world can be harsh. Now, you might say, I can't handle stock price fluctuations. If I buy, I'll just stop looking at the market. Does that work? Unfortunately not. The disappointment effect doesn't only exist in stock trading. Top students always aim for another perfect score. Athletes reminisce about the night of their most splendid game. Business people are constantly thinking about when they can make another deal like the one a few years ago. As for celebrities, most of their time is lived in intense disappointment. One day, they are the talk of the town, trending on social media, capturing the attention of the entire nation. At that time, it doesn't feel like much. Their feeling on that day is not necessarily one of extraordinary joy. Little did they know that, compared to the heat of that day, every day afterward would feel cold. But that kind of day is destined to be hard to replicate. This mathematical rule is called regression to the mean. Any success involves an element of luck, especially significant success. You can't trend on social media every day just by trading, it requires a chain reaction of small probability events. Since it's a low probability event, it can't happen frequently. Even if your career is on a monster beverage-like upward trajectory, in 95% of your days, all you have are memories. So, if you're an ambitious person, your days are spent pursuing occasional satisfaction amidst disappointment. There's an ancient Chinese saying, lamenting life, things rarely go as planned, 9 times out of 10. Actually, it's not just 9 out of 10, it's probably 98.9%. Now, you might ask, can't we rationally deal with these fluctuations? If we firmly believe that our business will succeed but will face many ups and downs, would we care about those fluctuations? You might say you don't care, but it's easy to talk when you're not in the midst of it. Emotionally, people don't respond to a 10-year strategic performance plan, they respond to the daily ups and downs. That psychological discomfort makes you want to do something about it. You repeatedly ask yourself, why can't I buy low and sell high? If I had sold my stocks at the last peak, isn't now the perfect time to buy back? This intense regret might lead you to sell your stocks at the next peak. That's why most people can't hold on to stocks, they can't wait for the 3000x return. Numerous studies show that most actively managed funds that pick stocks perform much worse than simply buying and holding an index fund. Yet, people can't resist the urge to make moves. Housel believes that the psychological stress caused by stock price fluctuations is the price you must pay for trading stocks. It's like spending money when you buy things, investing comes with the cost of psychological pressure. Now, you might ask, can't we do this differently? Since the starting and ending points are fixed, the only thing causing me stress is the middle fluctuations. I don't need a higher ending point, I just want fewer fluctuations, to make the curve smoother, allowing me to feel a bit of progress every day, to walk smoothly along the path. Wouldn't that be great? Some people tried that, and the results weren't great. We know that public companies release financial reports every quarter, disclosing metrics like earnings per share. Before your financial report is released, Wall Street has an expectation for you. Wall Street cares a lot about whether you meet its expectations. If your financial report meets or exceeds Wall Street's expectations, your stock price will rise. If your financial report falls even slightly below Wall Street's expectations, your stock price will experience a sharp decline. For example, if Wall Street expects your company's earnings per share for the quarter to be 25 cents, and your submitted results are 24 cents, just 1 cent less, your stock price will experience a significant drop. Whether this is rational or not, Wall Street doesn't like disappointment. If you disappoint us, you'll pay a considerable price. So, some CEOs might think, can't we make the financial statements look better through accounting methods to avoid disappointing Wall Street? Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, GE, did exactly that. Today, when we talk about business heroes, Elon Musk is often mentioned. 10 years ago, it was Steve Jobs, further back, it was Welch. Welch was a master at meeting Wall Street's expectations. Welch could ensure that the earnings per share in GE's financial reports exceeded Wall Street's expectations. Every time. If Wall Street expected GE's earnings per share to be 25 cents, Welch could achieve 26 cents. And he wasn't faking it. In Housel's words, Welch's method was massaging the numbers. For instance, if there were a few locomotive products that were supposed to be sold in the next quarter, Welch would find a way to sell them in advance, recognizing the revenue in the current quarter. This would make this quarter's financial report look good. But what if customers didn't need those locomotives right away? GE would sell the locomotives to a third-party financial partner, letting them resell. Welch was open about his performance-driven approach. In his autobiography, he explicitly stated that GE's culture disliked crises. If this quarter's numbers didn't look good, we would find a way to bring in tens of millions from our business to cover the gap. Welch treated financial reports like homework submitted to Wall Street, and Wall Street was indeed pleased with him. Let's look at the period from 1981 to 2001, the 20 years Welch served as CEO of General Electric. The stock price remained relatively stable, with no major fluctuations. Welch didn't disappoint Wall Street, and Wall Street didn't disappoint him. When Welch retired in 2001, GE awarded him a retirement package of $417 million, the largest in business history. Welch had truly achieved greatness. However, after Welch's retirement, how did General Electric fare? This chart shows the overall performance of General Electric's stock price from the 1980s to the present. While Welch was at the helm, the stock price steadily rose. As soon as Welch retired, the stock price rapidly declined. There were 2 periods of stable growth for a few years later, but then it was followed by swift declines. Today, General Electric is no longer a top-tier company. Housel argues that part of the reason General Electric is where it is today is that, during Welch's tenure, to make the financial statements look good, he didn't include some losses. But those losses are still there. You may not show them at the time, but sooner or later, they will reveal themselves. Even if your accounting methods are legal, the company will still have to bear the cost it should bear. Welch's approach was about reporting the positives and not the negatives. Another approach is, to avoid reporting the negatives, deliberately report fewer positives. For example, the 2 giants of mortgage-backed securities, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, were once found to have deliberately understated their earnings by several $billion in the early 2000s. They had good earnings, so why not report them? Because they wanted to spread the good performance across each future year. But that method misleads investors. People might think the growth of these 2 companies is very stable and predictable, and they won't see any bubbles. Until 2008, when we know the financial crisis was triggered by these 2 companies. This approach is quite common, such as when a salesperson has excellent performance this year, but due to the company's performance standards, to ensure passing next year's assessment, they might intentionally delay signing a few contracts until the next year. Such practices may seem clever, but because the reports generated don't reflect the actual situation, they create false expectations. The real world is full of ups and downs. Achievements always have their ebbs and flows. Forcibly smoothing them out is like covering up the truth. It's essentially self-deception. Many say they don't seek great wealth, only a comfortable life. However, the real world doesn't work that way. If you can't see the fluctuations, either someone or some organization is shielding you from them. Employees might have a fixed salary, but the company experiences fluctuations in the market. Civil servants might have job stability, but the institution has to weather the storms. Those stable days are virtual reality. If you truly want to face reality, you must endure shocks, big ups and downs, and live with anxiety and fear. These are the costs you must bear to get things done, whether it's this way or that way.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.